Okay, we are now live.
Okay, welcome everybody to the ward meeting on a planning matter for 130 Elgin Street. Councillor Antosky is here. We're the two, and I'm Richard Carpenter. We're the ward council. We're the ward councillors for the area. We'll guide you through the meeting. We also have with us Sarah Haig, our development planner on file. Jeff Medeiros is the senior planner. He'll be taking all the meeting notes. The agents for IBA group is here. I see Douglas Stewart's here. Hi, Doug. Applicant King Management, which is Ken Beckendam, is also here, and they had requested this public meeting to deal with this planning matter. So, Councillor Antosky, I'll let you say a few words, and Councillor Antosky will close.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Carpenter, and I may need your assistance on this. I was not able to access earlier today. I finally got my IT problem solved. So if there's something specific I'm supposed to say, please help me out. I was just trying to pull it up again. But welcome everyone. Thank you to the developers for having this meeting and making sure that our community has a say and understands what's happening here.
We'll start off with the planner introducing Sarah introducing yourself and moving forward. Go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you very much, councillors. Good evening. My name is Sarah Haig. I'm the planner assigned to this file with the City of Brantford. We're here tonight because we've received an application to amend the zoning bylaw for 130 Elgin Street. The meeting will be streamed to YouTube and will be available for viewing afterwards. If you're viewing or have comments or questions that aren't brought forward, please let me know following the meeting and I will do my best to have them answered after the fact. This is only the first meeting of the proposal to elicit public feedback for the applicant to take into consideration. The next meeting will be the statutory public meeting, which is required under the Planning Act and will be presented to the committee of the whole. So members of the public will have the opportunity to speak for or against the proposal at that meeting as well. So quickly, I'll just go over tonight's agenda. We'll do some quick introductions. I'll provide a brief presentation going over the planning process, followed by the applicant's presentation on their proposal. Once the presentation have concluded, there is time for public comments and questions, and all comments received will form part of the public record. So we've already introduced the councillors for Ward 4, Councillor Richard Carpenter and Councillor Cheryl Antosky. Thank you very much to both of you for being here. As noted, I am Sarah Haig, the planner on the file. Jeff Medeiros actually had a last-minute switch out, and we have Nicole Goodbrand, our new senior planner, here tonight taking notes. The agent on the file is Douglas Stewart from IBI Group and his team. He'll introduce his team a little later on, and we have Ken Beckendam, the owner of the property. So I'll just provide a quick overview of how the planning process works, and then I'll pass it over to the applicant to present the proposal. So the subject property is the former St. George's Orthodox Church. It is a corner lot at the northeast corner of Elgin Street and Brock Street. The area consists of a mix of residential and industrial uses. The applicant is proposing an adaptive reuse of the existing church building with a proposed total of 6 residential dwelling units. The applicant is proposing a parking lot at the rear of the property, which will contain a total of 5 parking spaces. The zoning bylaw amendment is an application required by the Planning Act. The official plan is a framework of goals and objectives of the city that provides land use designations and policies which will guide future development. The zoning bylaw puts the official plan into effect. It states how the land may be used, where buildings and other structures can be located, the types of buildings that are permitted, and how they may be used. It also regulates lot sizes and dimensions, parking requirements, building heights, and setbacks from the street. The subject lands are currently designated residential in the official plan, and proposed dwelling units are permitted in this designation. The lands are currently zoned institutional school zone, I2. Residential uses are not permitted in this zone, hence the need for zoning bylaw amendment. And I will now pass things over to Douglas to introduce his team and go over their proposal.
Thank you to staff. I appreciate the introduction and to members of council as well as those attending. I am Douglas Stewart and I am the project manager on this project as well as a planner. Also joining me is Christian, who's an urban planner, Emir, who's a civil engineer. Also from our consulting team that were in support of the application is the from architectural, or sorry, from Archaeological Research Association is Ms. Amy Amy Barnes. She's a heritage planner, and from a transportation, Julius Salvini from Salvini Construction, as well as from King Management, who owns the land and is making the application, is Mr. Ken Eakendam. So I do have a presentation I want to provide just to give you some of our background information and what we have done to bring us to here. What I think is important is we're here to explain the proposal, to explain what we've done, and to get you whatever feedback. So this is a project. It's an existing building, existing land use that was previously used as a church. We're doing an adaptive reuse. So what's important here is the existing building, and for most part will stay, and we're looking at it from, instead of a church, it'll be for housing. We're proposing 6 dwellings within the existing building, and as staff have indicated, it's an amendment to the bylaw from institutional to residential. What's important is the proposal as being presented conforms to the official plan. Next slide. Here's just to look what the building looks like and will be when it's ultimately constructed and amended through this application. This is a view of the building from Elgin Street. Next. This is what it would look like from Broad Street, and as staff have indicated, there's the building access in a variety of forms through stairs and doors, as well as parking behind. Next. Just again, an overview of what it will look like when all finished. Next, please. What I think is important is our approach. First and foremost, we looked at it from a preservation perspective. We want to maintain as much that is there now and adapt it from a church to residential. We then looked at what is important is the infrastructure. We wanted to look at making use of existing infrastructure wherever possible. From a planning sense, we wanted to maintain the current building with minor alterations to provide for attainable rental housing. Our intent was to evaluate whether it was supportive of public policies. From a transportation point of view, we looked at the proposed parking and looked at transportation demand management measure, and we will explain those further. Next slide. So the heritage impact assessment was completed. It does provide for the preservation of the existing building and does provide it as an adaptive reuse for residential. Wherever possible, we're salvaging existing building elements. What's important is what was removed before is now being returned is the reinstatement of the Lancet window openings. Just to let you know, in the process, we have been before Brantford Heritage, and they are supportive. Next slide. From an engineering perspective, just to give you a bit of an understanding, there is existing infrastructure to this existing building. As a result of the changes being proposed, we are proposing a new water. We are proposing a new storm, which would include an underground storage tank, which would address quality control and quantity control, and through an infrastructure in the storage tank. Next slide. From a planning point of view, again, it's important that we preserve what is there and is proposing to convert it from residential, which we believe is compatible with existing neighborhood. We're proposing an attainable rental housing. We've looked at the application request and are of the opinion it is supportive of the provincial policy statement, the provincial growth plan, and importantly, the city official plan. We looked at the conversion to residential. We believe is compatible and fits in and would be supportive of all of the variety of what's land uses around there. This isn't the first time a church would have been converted. There's one at number 81 Hill Street. Next slide. From a transportation point of view, an evaluation was done by Salvini Consulting. There are 5 off-street spaces to be provided. They're at the back of the building. It's proposing 6 secured bicycle spaces and transportation demand measures, which is an accepted approach, would include the secured bicycle parking, where the parking spaces are being rented for each residence, and it's in proximity to public transit, which is an important aspect, and additional parking spaces are being provided across the street at the St. Leonard's Community Services. Next slide. And again, we've provided a general overview, and we're here to hear what you want to ask of us. Each of our experts in the field are here and will respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Sarah, I don't believe we have any residents online.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's good. We're just going through the process. Cheryl, you have some comments.
I have a question. I have a question. We had the 5 parking spaces for 6 units, but the additional parking at St. Leonard's Community Services across the street. So how does that work? Is that an agreement that's made with them and there's specific spots, or are we just kind of hoping that they're unused spots and people will park there?
If I can have an answer from Julia, that would be appreciated.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Julia Salvini. I'm happy to answer your question, Councillor. The way that we envision this working is that we can fit 5 parking spaces on the site. So it's intended that those 5 parking spaces would be for the residents. There is some short-term parking available on street on Brock Street. And the arrangement with St. Leonard's was really intended to address any sort of evening and overnight longer term parking demand that might be there for visitors. And so the Ken has spoken with the executive director at St. Leonard's, and at that time of the night and on the weekends, they have a lot less parking demand, and they've agreed to allow us. We think it would really only ever 1 or 2 parking spaces for use of longer term visitors, as in overnight longer term, to park on that site. And we're working with staff to see what kind of an agreement they would want. If they want a letter from St. Leonard's, they've agreed to do that. We're working through that with staff at this time.
Okay, so then as this is planned now, you know, we have to get a tenant that doesn't drive and possibly others that don't have 2 cars, or maybe there's 3 or 4 that don't drive and somebody has 2. So, but that's just got to be worked out on the rental piece, I guess.
So it's 5 parking spaces for the 6 residential units. Yes. So there would be at least 1 unit that doesn't have a parking space. The parking spaces would be rented separately from the units. So it'd be at an additional cost. And the owner has thought about this a lot and has explored the marketplace and thinks that that's viable. We've looked at how people own cars and travel in this area. And one of the things we did is, so I worked on the 81 Peel site, and I'm still in contact with the owners, and they give us access to their cameras to take a look at the use of the parking at their site. And we looked at the parking at that site, and I think it was 6 different nights, like overnight, between 2 and 3 in the morning. They gave us screenshots to show us who was parking where. And what we found is that during that time, so there's 12 units in that building, and they have 13 parking spaces. And in the time that we looked at those 6 times, only once was there more than 10 cars parked. So that would be the equivalent 5 out of 6 or 10 out of 12. Only once was there 11 cars parked overnight during one of those surveys. And I think off the top of my head, I think it was on the weekend, and we thought it was possible that one of those people was a visitor, where we've got the off-site visitor option. So on that site, they found that they don't need a parking space for every unit, that the parking that they have is certainly adequate.
Okay, and I think maybe having to pay for the parking spot solves the problem in terms of knowing people going in, knowing what they have and what they don't have. All right. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Are they all 1-bedroom units? I think they are.
I would turn that to
Ken?
Ken, please.
Yeah, they're actually, I believe there's I think we have it laid out with 4 2-bedrooms and 2 1-bedrooms.
Oh, great.
I have to look at the floor plans again, but it is a mix of 2 beds and 1 beds.
And that piece of Brock Street on the side, there's very little, there's only a couple of residents there. There's always lots of vacant parking space on the street on Brock Street. I think, I won't speak for Cheryl for certain, but I think that we would be okay with making some adjustments on that street for some parking. It's to make sure that works. I'm very pleased that you're doing the way you're rebuilding this church. Congratulations, Ken, for what you're doing here, by the way. You're keeping this church and restoring its condition, getting the graces, good graces of the Heritage Committee as well, and making 6, which will be affordable units in that area. I think it's the beginning of a rebuild of that area. And we can talk later, Ken, about other options in that area based upon new planning rules, but that whole area looks like it's on a rebuild, on an upward rebuild. So I'm happy, Julia, with your ingenuity working with 81 Peel. Richmond and Brant Ave is another church that was converted very successfully. So we're happy to see that as counselors. We're happy to see that you've taken up this challenge and you're going to be improving the neighborhood. St. Leonard's is a good neighbor, and there's a lot of good neighbors around the area. When there's not a shortage of parking either on Elgin Street or Brock, so it's probably a good fit. Now, when the old factory gets redeveloped into condos or something else, that'll be a different story. Cheryl, I see your hand up. You want something else to say?
You reminded me of something I had written down. I appreciate the term being used, attainable housing. I don't know if you know yet, Ken, where your rents are going to sit, but I appreciate the fact that we have a lot of confusion around the word affordable. And I'm hoping that this is what you mean by attainable, that it truly is more of an affordable, and we can maybe start putting some rest to some of the confusion around how we bat that word around affordable. But I do appreciate the change in term.
Yeah, like what these housing units are is it's a different mix of housing that we're bringing into the marketplace, right? So ultimately, it is giving more choice for people out there, right? And given the unit sizes and the location, it is going to be, I would think at the lower end of the spectrum of rental rates, which hopefully will be attainable for people for sure.
If I may add, I tend to concur with you that we mix and say terms that not necessarily are true. There is in the provincial policy statement a means to define what affordable is. In this instance, what is being suggested here is we don't meet what that is, but that doesn't mean it's not attainable.
So you're in the area, and I want to congratulate the Doug, you and the RIBI group for that presentation. You covered everything off very well. You didn't miss anything. You covered the sewer, the drainage, putting the bladder underneath the parking lot. That's a great idea. We've talked about that before in our water department. It's so that those large rainstorms won't overcapacitate the storm sewers. They'll be draining away, at a slower rate, and that's thinking outside the box. Really appreciate the presentation and how you put it together. I know from Julia's work with Peel Street that you'll be also be putting security cameras on the building. I would hope, anyways. It helps that area has a little bit of transient issues with around the corner. We have a scrapyard that sees a lot of transient visitors, so it would be helpful to keep the security that you did like you did on Peel Street. So it looks like a great development, and even you're doing minor decorations around the building, but there isn't a lot of room for that. But the way you've done it, you've made it so that the green is up against the building and not out in the street. So you've made it look quite. But it looks like that it'll be fantastic. And I see a parking lot. Is that a cement parking lot or is it pavement?
It would be paved.
Okay, all right. It just looks prettier in the picture because it looks like cement. Okay. They always look better.
Always look good in the picture. If I may add that I think what's reflected here in this request is of what the brand new official plan is expecting. So yes. I do know that staff and council and us as the consultants put a significant amount of effort into the official plan. I think this is what the plan is expecting. We need to do things smarter. We need to ensure that what we're proposing or what we're taking into evaluation does reflect that we can do things much better.
And just when do you expect to be all the approvals? When is this coming to council and or planning or committee of the whole for planning? And when do you expect to be finished?
So if you were to ask Ken, he would have said last July. So we are in the process. We wanted this to be scheduled so we could get feedback. Staff are in the process of evaluating what has been presented. Our expectation is we want to be before council as soon as possible, because after we do the amendment, we still have to go through this site plan.
Yeah, well, we've considerably speeded that process up. Sarah, do we know when this would be before committee of the whole?
Thank you, Councillor. We are hoping to get this to the May meeting. The deadline for our reports is tomorrow for that meeting. So we're working on it. I can't promise it'll be at May, but if not May, it should be at June.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so Cheryl and I know that we've been working on cleaning that neighborhood up, and the marijuana grow up is no longer there and no longer allowed back. So that's a good sign. Because it was grandfathered in as a zoning change, but now it's non-existent. It cannot come back because it doesn't meet zoning requirements. So and the residents will be thrilled that that's gone. So thrilled that they won't be. Well, I don't believe there'll be any concerns about this development. They would have more concerns if we were tearing the church down and putting in, fourplex or something like that. This is what you're proposing here. I think will make the residents quite happy. I mean, it used to be a pretty busy little church when it was going. I mean, there was lots of cars parked on there. There was a weekday rentals and meetings, and it's always had some activity around it. So it's happy that it's going to continue this way. That's just sort of my opinion.
I'm trying to find an automatic bell ringer so that we can get this church bell ringing on Sundays automatically. So I've been doing my research.
Yeah, don't get a rooster. Sorry, it's just a joke from last night's meeting. Okay. Is Salvini Consulting, is that going to be the builder that or the renovator? Because you're renovating inside?
No, it'll be my company, King Homes Inc.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So she's consulting based upon experience you've had with Peel Street. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the transportation consultant, so I did the parking study. Yeah.
And Doug, I think your understanding of our new official plan, which is pretty wide open, is you're out shopping for us, aren't you? Getting customers to do changes. That's great.
I am.
I'm hearing it.
I'm trying.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, because Brantford's going through a renaissance, and the opportunity is all over the place. I'm glad that Mr. Beckett from King's Homes recognized that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I would love to, actually, I would love to sit down with a representative from the city to explore, what you guys are looking at and how we as the private sector can get involved in some of these different areas.
Well, I tend to do that with individuals in our ward, and Cheryl knows I do this, and I keep her up to speed. But I'm happy to spend a couple hours driving around the community and showing you about opportunities that exist within the community. That if you're interested, anytime that works for you, I'll fit it. I'm retired from my full-time job, so I'm really basically a full-time part-time counselor. So I have time to do that.
Okay.
Cheryl has a couple jobs, so she's a pretty busy lady, and she's on FCM, so she's a busy woman doing a lot of great stuff for the city.
I'll send a separate private email to you, and we could get something set up for sure. Thank you.
I don't see now this. What the only thing we'll say, because the public will be seeing this, it's live on YouTube. If the public watches this later, which sometimes happens, quite a bit happens, and you have any concerns, you can send an email to Sarah Haig as a planner, or to Councillor Antosky or myself. If any concerns or questions, or even if you just have great support and you're happy to see what we're doing, go ahead and send that to us too. So I'm speaking to the public that isn't listening tonight, but will be listening later on. And it happens, and we'll be out and about in that part of the ward. We do the walkabouts every now and again. If there's any issues, we'll certainly let you know.
And as part of the consulting team, if they wish to speak to us.
Yeah, that PowerPoint presentation, if you could send that, if that's able to be sent to Cheryl and I, we could put it in our files, and any constituent that has any concerns, we could simply show that to them as well. They'd be happy to see that.
So we did provide it for staff.
Okay.
So if staff wanted to send it on.
No, that's great. No, that's great. I think I see Cheryl nodding her head. So other than that, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, me too. I'm really happy to see this.
I know you're busy, Sarah, but if we could get this thing moving, that would be great. Only it's I know
Sarah and
our planning staff they are booked right up to their eyebrows. There's so much development happening, which is all good, but yeah. we have a fantastic planning department. New and innovative and energetic, and my gosh, they're busy. I can't say enough about them. I really can't, Ken. They really are making a difference here, and the city has gone a long ways to reducing any blockages in site plan and those sorts of things. We're always happy to walk you through that too, to make sure that process isn't slowed down, and anything that. So we work with staff to make sure they understand our concerns with site plan to help move it forward as well.
Great.
Okay. Cheryl, I guess I'm gonna let you close then. I know I
Yeah.
spoke for a bit.
I don't, that's okay. That's great. I don't know that there's anything specific to say in closing, but I do appreciate this. I appreciate this presentation. Ken, certainly I appreciate your willingness and real desire. You really wanted to get this going and you wanted to talk to the residents and make sure everybody knew what was going on. And sometimes we don't have that eagerness. We have to really convince people to talk to the residents. So I'm really happy that you did this. And I think that Richard's right, that this will be looked at after people will hear about it, that they, for whatever reason, didn't hear about it now. And I think this is a great proposal. I'm excited to see it happen.
Me too.
With that, I think we're all done. Everybody can go have some supper.
Christian, you got me going. I'm going to take a shot at pronouncing that last name. Is it Tismendis?
So close. It's Simonidis. So the T is silent.
Simonidis. Oh, I wasn't close.
That's great. Yeah, it was close. Honestly, there's been worse. So no, you didn't get the job.
Simonidis. No, just I had to challenge myself. Thank you. All right.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care,
Thank you.
everyone.
Yes,
Thank you all.
thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah, for everything you do.
Thank you.